everybody, it's your boy Snyder1 with Snyder Elite Gaming, bringing you a Wraith analysis. That's right, we're going to be doing a breakdown for the character and pretty much giving you a bunch of good information in order to bring your Wraith game to the next level. And I'd like to start this video out with a shout out to my boy Blue Monster. You completely destroyed the enemy team the other night in our competitive matches, and he gave me some sick ass gameplay for Wraith to demonstrate how one mid laner can control the enemy jungle so devastatingly that you can make the other enemy jungler quit. Shout out to you, man. I appreciate the gameplay. So not only are we going to get some good gameplay in the background, but we're going to be able to get some good information on the character. Now, I want to start this video out with a definition. So there's been a definition on the social media about this character being the ranged fighter. I don't like this definition, and the only reason I say that is because there's a lot of young guys out there that don't capture what they're actually saying, and they start making some misconceptions and start building this guy like they're gonna go blow for blow with a Chimera or a Grux or a Fangmount, and that is just not the way you're gonna make this character. This character is a 2 durability, meaning he is not a quote-unquote fighter. This man is something completely different, and it's something that we haven't seen before. So I'd like to change that definition today and pretty much quote-unquote say he is the next damage support, or aka the utility man. This guy is meant to be facilitating into specific team comps in order to bring utility to your guys' team fights in late game. That is his role. That is what he's meant to do. He's meant to lock down the mid and then give you guys more creative outlets for offensive maneuvers and defense. So with that being said, let's go ahead and I'm gonna say this. Picking this guy is, it comes at a cost, and whether or not that cost is worth it to you is completely your decision. I cannot make that for you, but I will make some points out so that you guys can make the right decision. So as a mid laner, during the dev stream they said he was going to be a mid laner. They designed him to be a mid laner, but his wave clear wasn't as good as other mid laners, and he only has 2 damage abilities. So really what you're losing in a mid laner like Bellica or like Howitzer is you're losing some hard CC or a version of crowd control in the mid lane. You're losing wave clear, especially late game, because he tends to not be able to push waves under pressure, especially when they start stacking up and they become super minions and stuff of that nature. So you're losing your wave clear. You don't have your CC or crowd control like Howitzer and Bellica, and you're only as good as your utility. So if you're not using your utility for wards in key locations, contesting the enemy jungle, ganking people, creating escapes for your invisibility for your team, or creating engages for your invisibility, you're basically a glorified Kalari that's less effective because your damage output is just not nearly as good. So keeping that in mind, as a mid laner, you're giving up some things in order to facilitate that extra utility for the team. Now, off laner is also an option that has been stressed by a lot of people in the community, but this character has durability issues. He's only 2 durability. He literally has the health pool of a caster or even a carry, and it's just, with high levels of poke and the wave clear, it's very, very difficult to pull it off. Not saying it's impossible, because there are some people that can definitely do it. You just gotta understand your limitations and really, really maximize the potential of your character. Now, last spot that he kind of goes into is the support role. And in the dev stream, they definitely said that it was an easy transition for him because his kit was super utility. He wasn't farming as well as they had hoped, and it was an easy transition. But if you put him there, you really lose out on a lot of qualities for your support. A support has hard CC, he has shields, he has health regen now, he has roots, he has all these different things that really turn the tide in a 2v1 match that he just does not provide. Mind you, he does have some unique utility because he does have a lot of poke damage, so you can take advantage of that in the lane. It's not terrible, but it's just not as good in competitive play, or even people that are trying to take it serious on their solo queue adventures. So I will say that he is a mid laner. He is meant to be played in the mid lane because, like you just saw, you can contest green buff. You can really harass the enemy jungle. You can snipe through the geometry and snag lane buffs. He's just really good at mid lane. And you don't have a lot of issues with wave clear until later in the game. And at that point, other people can really help you out, especially with the right team comp. So, team comp. Now, I did go on to the Twitch and asked a bunch of streamers, and the guy that stood out the most was iCameron. And the dude is on the top 10 leaderboards. If you don't know him, look him up on agora.gg. He is phenomenal. His Twitch channel is amazing. He gives out a lot of good information and pretty much answers any question you really want to answer. But he literally, I asked him, what is the perfect team comp for Wraith and what really makes him viable? And he said number one thing is you want to make sure that you have some kind of alternative wave clear, because his wave clear is not that great, in order to make sure that there's not too much pressure on your team. So by picking a lot of champions that can't wave clear good, you really force, you make it a lot harder on yourself when clearing minions in order to group up and attack objectives. So he said have alternative wave clear. He also said to have 2 fighters that can eliminate people off the rewind. He didn't go into specifics on which champions that those were, but I could assume that that's Quang, Chimera, even Feng Mao, people like that when you pull someone back and you rewind him, you can kill him instantly, and you can really make that utility worth it. Like this clip right here, he rewound him, but because there was nobody there to really help him follow up, the guy gets away. And that is a big problem with this kit, is by being rewound, you really need someone there to help you, unless you're 100% got them and you have them in a situation that they're killable. Now, that is team comp. That is considerations for roles that he should be played. Now let's dive into his build. Now, I did all the math on him. I looked at all the different stats, and I really took this champion to heart. And I came up with a bunch of different things that you should know before making your guys' creative builds. One, his attack speed is wonderful on him because he does a lot of his damage from his auto attack. Because that is one of the only 2 abilities that he has that makes him strong as far as damage goes. So attack speed is great. Power is great because it doesn't just make his auto attack better, but it makes his knock better too. So those 2 were hands down the 2 best stats for him. Now, as far as your basic pin, it was good too. So on a DPS build, I totally recommend it. It definitely helps out his damage capabilities, and it was definitely worth it in my opinion. But when I tested ability pin, it was not. It was completely left field, not even close. You literally are wasting so many points for 17 points of damage. It just wasn't. It's not worth it in my opinion. So stay clear of ability pin, but your power, attack speed, and freaking any kind of DPS stats. So attack speed, power, and even crit was decent. Now, when I compared builds, I did a 40 CP build over 6.3 seconds, and I compared damage between a burst build, which is 40 CP of power, nothing else. Then I had a attack speed build for a DPS, so it was a power and attack speed and nothing else. And then I did a 100% crit, which obviously is power, attack speed, and crit bonus for 40 CP, and I compared them over 6.3 seconds. And I came to the conclusion that the DPS build is good over a longer period of time. It does a lot more damage, but the burst build wasn't so far off. It was only like a 600 damage difference between the the burst build and the DPS / crit build. Now, with that being said, it all comes down to playing styles. If you're going to be that guy that's roaming around and you're fighting people that are half health, burst build gives you the most damage up front, and it's not even close. It's almost double. But you really start to fall into, you start to fall off damage-wise because you got to wait the 4 seconds for your knock to come up. Which isn't necessarily a problem because, you're fighting people that are low health. But if you're that guy that's always sitting in the lane and you're doing vision and whatnot, and you're fighting people that are full health and it's for a longer duration, the DPS build of attack speed and power or the 100% crit is completely the way to go. I would definitely recommend that direction. So definitely your playing style is going to kind of go into those two. Now, with that being said, cards that should be recommended on this character are definitely Stinger Boost. It hands down makes his auto attack 1,000 times better, and it just makes you do more damage. Tainted Magic does the opposite. It makes his knock that much better, and when paired together, the build just skyrockets in damage, and you just realize that you're just a super nuisance, and it's fantastic. I had friends of mine, and as well as people in the forums, say that Ash the Witch was a good pick because it allowed Wraith to have a slow to where you can continually DPS the character down, which is definitely something to consider. I didn't personally test it because obviously the Stinger Boost and Tainted Magic worked so well for me that I didn't want to differ from that. I paired that with all power build, so a burst build, and I supplemented passively attack speed so that my DPS wasn't as bad as just straight power. Those are my recommendations as far as your build. Now for the grading process, how does this guy stack up in a competitive play against his peers? What is he? This man is definitely a B tier hero, and I say that with a heavy heart because I love his gameplay and I love the situations that you create with him, but he's very situational. You can't take him into solo queue because it takes a lot of collaboration in order to pull off some of the cool things that he's capable of. Not saying that you can't do anything cool in solo queue, but it makes sense to just save it for a 5-stack. Just save it and really maximize his his playability. With that being said, wards are a really big deal against this guy because it's just, when he goes invisible, you pop a ward, you see the whole team, and it gets rid of a big portion of his kit. You don't like that in an S-class hero. An S-class hero can be played in any match, has little to no counters, and is just can carry a game. Not saying that Wraith can't, he just needs more considerations than an S-class hero does. Even is, he does have some fundamental things that you need to think about that aren't as good as the things around him. But he is a B in my opinion. If you guys have other grades that you want to give the man, go ahead and throw them in the comment section. I'd like to hear you guys' opinion. It is my opinion and solely my opinion, but it's based on the things that I described earlier. That's all I got for you guys today. I hope you guys liked the video. I hope you guys liked the gameplay and you got to check out all those green camp attacks where he was completely destroying the jungler. Shout out to Blue. I appreciate it, big dog. It's always fun playing with you, my friend. For all you guys, if you like the content, hit the like and subscribe button. Become part of the elite gaming community that I've set up. Become part of the family. It definitely means a lot to me, and it allows you guys to get this content when it comes out, and it's just fantastic. What we're doing here is definitely creating a community/family that is worth being a part. If you guys have any ideas for future videos, go ahead and throw them in the comment section. That's all I got for you guys today. Peace.